What is up, guys? Welcome to another live. I told you last time that I'm going to start doing more lives, so that's exactly what's happening. And this one is amazing because we're talking about things that I wish I knew when I started color grading. So it's just going to be all practical knowledge, things that, might be in the back of your head, things that you want to pursue, but you don't have the answers to. So it's going to be all of that. And I'm going to load it up with some tutorial examples. So it's extra practical. So get super pumped. Let's just jump right in. Agenda is right here. So I'm going to turn this scene to here so you guys can see it on a big screen. So I'm going to be covering whether you are working on wedding videos, corporate or documentaries, commercials, music videos, and films. Basically, what's the approach for each one and how to best attack it, how to come up with a game plan that is going to make you efficient, that's going to make you professional, and that's going to help you make as much money as you can from each gig that you work on. More importantly, bring your flair without fighting with the creatives, without fighting with clients, so it's a win-win. You get to win and they get to, have an excellent product at the end. So jumping right in, let's first talk about the caveats that you need to know about weddings. If you're doing a wedding grade, one, there's never going to be a budget for color. Okay. That's just, the simplest truth. Hey, all, everybody who's joining in, let's freaking go. So first thing that you need to know is, there's usually never a budget for it, right? So you're working with, hey, they have the money for shooting and editing, and that's about it. So have that in the back of your head. Super tight deadlines. That's another one. You're always going to be dealing with that, like where, you have enough time to just finish the edit and then turn it in. And challenging lighting conditions, that's a huge one, right? You guys are shooting on DSLRs or mirrorless cameras that are 8-bit in, with 6400 ISO, even 12,000 ISO, like at nighttime during reception, lights are dim and all that stuff. So how do you get around that? But before we get into the actual, the game plan that we have, let's talk about what it does when you do have a well-graded video. You can easily set yourself apart. Just know that, like, if your video looks different than the traditional wedding videos that we know, all of a sudden you're just in a whole different league, and you can charge way more than your competition when your product just looks like it belongs in a music video or in a film. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want that? Their wedding day to look as good as like a freaking music video. So, that's just simple to concept to understand, and you can easily charge way more if you do that. Okay. So here are the list of things that you need to understand that you have to do. And yes, it's part of my music. It's part of my recent video too. So people who have seen that, this is going to be repetitive, but I'm going to take you through it and throw a different spin on it. Okay. So just bear with me. Wedding grade, you need to know that it's all about the bride, and that's where it starts, that's where it ends. So you basically need to understand bride equals skin tones. Like, the skin tones has to be the center of it. If you can just get your base grade right and the skin looks perfect, the rest is like, easy picking. Okay. Second thing you need to understand is color separation or color isolation. Color separation will be where you're pulling the colors apart. Color isolation is going to be where you have one color that's dominant, which will be the skin tones, and then the rest are muted. So then she really or he really pops out. Okay. Neutral whites and blacks. Girl is mostly wearing white. The dude is wearing a tux, which is mostly black. So you want to make sure when you get your white and black points right, everything is going to look right at the money and where it's supposed to be. Okay. So these things are essential. And this homework is very important because then it's going to make your job a lot easier when you start attacking it. Okay. Then let's talk about high key. High key is a big one. High key is basically that, high-end fashion look that you see where, it's really up there. It's like ETTR, exposed to the right. It's like almost sitting at that cusp where it's almost blown out, but it's not, and when you add that look, you get rid of all the blemishes and imperfections in the skin, and that's what they want. People want to look perfect on their, only day, their best day, in their entire life. Like on their wedding day, they just want it to be a picture perfect every frame. Okay. And high key can get you there. You got to make it look dreamy. That kind of goes hand in hand. High key and dreamy are right there. Dreamy will come from using pro mist filters if you're, on the shooting end, and then adding glow and these really nice effects to have gentle roll offs and give it that dreamy feel. Like, again, smoothing the skin even more. With 4K, 6K, 8K cameras, everything is overly sharpened. So you have to make sure that you still have, like, try to have a backup plan to, like, cover up the wrinkles and things like that. And, the tricks that I'm going to show you that can help you do that. So let's just jump into this grade that I recently turned in. So I'm going to turn all of this off and then go one by one and show you what's happening. So this is our log shot in Blackmagic. I start off with my contrast. So I do a basic contrast and, get everything in the ballpark. Then I do my base, and, like, look at the base is where what I talked about, skin tones. So here I just use my lift gamma gain to really get everything in the ballpark in this node, okay? And then once I was there, I went in and started working on the look. Now, there wasn't, like, basically now what I'm doing is just look at that, like my lift gamma gain, how much I'm pushing to create this color separation that I was talking about. And you can see the separation right here. Like, this is, the window pane is, like, kind of blending in with everything here with this blue. But then as soon as I do that, like, look at the difference, right? Now we're setting it apart. Like, same thing with lamp and the blue in the back on the wall. Okay, we're setting her apart, like her clothes, like how there's a little blue that's happening here, the little teal that's in her dress embedded. And then once I corrected it, now you get the pure white. And then look at the difference in her skin too, how much more her skin is just, more pronounced and in your face. Okay. And then we went in and used some hue versus options. I'm going to undo that. Hue versus options to just add some saturation in the reds. And then went under my hue versus luminance and lifted it a little bit to kind of, again, working on that, perfecting the skin tone and just, like, really make it pop and have that be the center, of this entire frame. Then went with the high key look. And that is created with my editable splines in my RGB curves. And that really just gave it that thing that I'm talking about, that, like, X factor. Now you might think that, dude, you blew out the freaking highlights, and we recover that in this node right here. That's our highlights. So we go back, we grab it by using my qualifiers, just a Luma qualifier. If I hit Shift H, you can see what I'm grabbing. And then all the problematic areas we were able to pull back, like even the detail right here. Like, this is after, this is before. Nothing, we lost everything, we brought that back, okay? Don't forget the focus is her, okay? Too many people get fixated on, oh my God, dude, I just need to protect everything, and I shot it with Blackmagic and it has so much dynamic, range, now I wanna bring everything in. No, that's not important. If I change the color of the background and make it really nice blue and perfect, like, it doesn't really do anything because the focus needs to be her. So everything else has to kind of just fade away in the background, okay? Then I went in and shaped my light. Because everything is shot in naturally lit conditions, what can we do to have some control? We can have a lot of control by creating vignettes. So this is a super soft vignette. And then I went in and just kind of pulled her down, or pulled everything around her down and left her as is. And what it does is that it adds to my, creating color contrast agenda. It basically creates more color separation because, look, as we, bring everything down, we add more color depth into our image, and we can see that there, right? Then I use my softening tool to soften her up. So if I punch in really close, and if I do before, just focus right here, and after, see, it just smooths out the skin, okay? And it just makes it look really nice and very natural effect. It doesn't do anything that makes it look cheesy. And it's done right here in our primaries wheels, second tab, midtone detail, -30, okay? Then when I go under my glow, I used very specific techniques that you can go in and look at in my wedding video on YouTube to really see what happened to get that. But here, I just want to talk about what it accomplishes. So just look at her eye, how much detail we get in her eyes. It adds the right amount of warmth in her skin, adds a really nice glow on her hair, and just brings out the image in the right way. And especially for weddings, I mean, just look at the glow on her face, making such a huge impact. And then finally added a grain. That's like, it depends on your taste, take it or leave it kind of thing. But, this is what we were able to create. Started with this, ended up here. So, basically it was all, was part of the thing that we had going on, like all these steps. We were following the skin tones, we were following the color separation, and basically I was just going step by step, and then it was really easy to get there. So once you have this plan, in place, it makes it really easy. And that's why I'm so big on the purpose. I'm so big on like understanding what goes into it. That's why I wish I knew these things before I started color grading. That's the title of this video, and it makes sense because I know this, after a decade of color grading. But if you guys are in this limbo and trying to figure it out, well, there you go. So that's for wedding, okay? Time frame, usually how long does it take to grade a wedding video? You will not be grading the documentary aspect of the wedding video, which is like usually a 2-hour long piece. You will be grading a retrospective, which is around 10 to 20 minutes, or a teaser, which is going to be somewhere from a minute to 2.5 minutes or something. So say a retrospective plus a teaser should not take more than 3 days. So that's why I put 1 to 3 days. That's what it's going to take. Okay. So when you charge your client, you can build your invoice around that. All right. Moving on to corporate or documentary grades. And for that, just remember the kind of clientele that you have for this. Okay. And I'm basically doing a general thing here. And the reason why I'm taking you through all these is because I've done these. I don't talk about anything that I haven't done. I've done wedding videos, a decade ago. I've worked on corporate stuff long time ago. So, music videos, commercials, films. I've done all of that, and I'm only sharing, all my successes and what I learned from it and what works. And I'm just not gonna sit here and give you, hey, it could be this, it could be that. No, I'm just telling you what happened with me and what worked, and then you can just drive, from there. So for corporate and documentaries, what you need to understand is you're dealing with clients that are sort of conservative or sort of green, in a sense that they're not really comfortable with pushing their content too much, like, or giving it a look or anything like that. So they're going to be more on the safe side. Okay. So they're always going to, like, literally, these, I should have put quotations around these, because they're always going to be looking for make it look good, make it look natural. Okay. This is going to be their thing. That's what they're going to be asking for. So my advice to you is don't fight it. Don't fight back and try to tell them that you're trying to make art and you're trying to tell stories and give them references from Tarantino's or freaking, Nolan's movies. Don't do that. It's not going to go anywhere. You're going to lose the client. You're not going to get a call back. It's just not going to end well. Okay. Instead, keep it simple. Like, if somebody's telling you, hey, I don't want you to overcomplicate something, give it to me really simple and easy, then that's it. Give that to them, like, and keep it simple and easy, right? So, I mean, that's just better for you. You don't have to do, the extra work. So keep this in mind, okay? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if this was a corporate video or a documentary, we could have just parked after these two. We could have stopped right there. You didn't have to do anything else. You could have just parked right here and just that would be the end of it. So then keep it there. Don't put in the extra work, because you're going to have to multiply that with, the amount of shots and everything that you're working on. So that's my point about this. Okay. Keeping it simple. So, my suggestions are these, okay, for attacking corporate or documentaries, something called a camera conversion LUTs. Now, these are amazing. Because they are not the regular LUTs. That they are not some, Joe created his LUTs and is trying to sell you that. No, camera conversion LUTs are carefully created and they're super complex. They're done by the camera manufacturer. So Canon has their own camera conversion LUTs. Arri Alexa, Arri will have their own, Red will have their own, Blackmagic, same thing. So when you download these, so if I'm working with a C200, and shot something in C-Log 3 and I get their C-Log 3 to Rec 709, that is going to get me 80% there where I want to go. It's taking advantage of all the color science and everything the right way, okay? Because this is the point of their conversion LUTs. If you're, delivering an HDR, then use their C-Log 3 to Rec 2020 LUT. So I highly encourage doing that for corporate and documentaries because it's just going to save you so much time, and get you there 80% of the way. And like I said, it backs up the keep it simple mentality. Another thing, use temp and tint controls, okay? Instead of using your primaries wheels, your temp and tint control are just gonna be such a massive time saver here because again, you just wanna get in the ballpark. You wanna just pull out some of that tint, you wanna add some warmth or take out some warmth by adding, like more cold into your scene. Like whatever it is, like temp and tint is gonna get you there real fast other than doing micro adjustments through your wheels, okay? And do global adjustments. Basically build grades that don't require too many windows and tracking and all that stuff, because for corporate videos and documentaries, again, they want it to look natural and look good. So just give them that. Like keep it very simple. Do like these, think of it like broad strokes, like make global adjustments, global changes, and then it's going to translate from shot to shot, scene to scene, and then the entire project that you're working on. High contrast. These guys love high contrast. Like max out the top and the bottom. You cannot give them like this is good. Something like that is great. Like you're maxing out the bottom and the top. You cannot give these guys something like, let's just say, something like this that is sitting in the middle. Or let me find a better example. Something like that. You cannot give these guys this and look at your scopes where they're sitting because they want this puppy to touch the top, okay? You got to give them something that's just like maxing out, your scope so it looks really juicy, okay? That's very, very important. So always work on it and give it tons of contrast. So almost think opposite of cinematic. Like you just want to make it look good on broadcast, like really push the image. And don't go crazy on the saturation. So mostly I will say if you work off of the LUT, as soon as you throw the LUT, the saturation that comes with it, that's good enough. Don't add additional saturation because these guys will freak out because they want it to look natural. They don't want extra jazz, sprinkled on top. So that's another very, very important point. All right, guys. So thanks everybody for joining. So I'm looking at your guys' comments too. So let's just, okay, and time frame for these, for corporate grade or documentaries can that could be weeks. So that's why I put in weeks, because it can be shot with tons of different cameras and it can get out of control. On the other hand, for a corporate video, a talking head, with some B-roll, 3 to 10 minutes or 7 minutes or something like that should not take more than a day because of like all the things that I just explained. You don't have to overcomplicate it. So that's the time frame for those. All right, talking about commercials. Let's look at this. Okay, you got to remember the rule of 2 C's. I came up with it. So basically it's a coin toss. Either you're dealing with people that are conservative or you're dealing with people that are creative. Okay, so again, some people are going to be like, hey, stick to the Pantone, give me these colors, that's the color swatch, stick with it, that's it. Don't overthink it, don't use your little brain, just give me that. Other people are going to be crazy creative and they're going to give you samples from their favorite movies or commercials, and they're going to be like, yeah man, take this and throw your own flair on it and cook something up and then let me see what you come up with. So it's all about the product. Ultimately, it's going to be all about the product regardless. So you got Mazda, that's red. Then, you're working on a car commercial, it's Mazda, it's red. Build your grade around that, okay? So foliage and everything is cool to pop those colors, those greens and everything, but you kind of want to go more toward the color isolation route where you pull the colors out of everything else and you inject tons of color into the product so it looks like it's something from heaven, there's an extra light on it and then everything else just kind of fades away. Okay, so that's very important. Do your research, understand, learn more about the company, whether it's watching the videos or their print stuff or their Instagram. Like, just dig in and understand the essence of it, and then try to incorporate that, when you try to create those. Ask for references. I mean, that's going to save you so much time. Just ask the client, hey, are you thinking about something? Do you have something in mind? Can you share some stills, mood boards, whatever you got? And then once you have that, it can just help you so much. Then try to reinvent the wheel. Now they already had done it for you. You can just run with, like, your thoughts align with theirs. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to cook up a lookbook. And lookbook is basically, you're going to create a bunch of different looks, or at least 3 or 4 different looks, and then you'll send it over to them and you're going to ask them, hey, what do you guys think? Like, which one would you want to go with? So in this case, I'm just going to switch this up and go to Juice It Up commercial versus film grading here. And you guys are going to see what I'm talking about. So let's see. Okay, so here what I would do is I'm going to click on this guy and then do versions and original. So now, and I'm going to get rid of this. So if we look at this, that's my lookbook. That could be, here's log, here is Rec 709, here is a commercial look or something that's really poppy, and then here's another look that could be, let's just call it a film look, like cinematic look or something like that. So you'll present them this, and then they're gonna go, oh, well, Kazi, I like the warmth from this, but I like the colors in that. So can you give me can you split the difference and give me somewhat in between? So that's going to get the dialogue going. And having a dialogue is the most important thing, because you just do not want to let them lead the entire thing. I mean, it's going to be a miserable process. And plus, they're hiring you for your abilities, for your skills. And having a solid communication is one of the strongest skills that you can develop as a colorist. And then remember, heavy vignettes. When I say heavy vignettes, don't think old school wedding videos, okay? But I mean, you think of any good commercial that you can think of, like they use crazy vignetting. Like they really put the focus on the car, and then they, drop the sky and make you think that, maybe this is what the sky looks like, but it doesn't look like that. They're really just bringing it down and putting all the emphasis on that car. And same thing happens with, like, whatever. It could be anything, like any product that you can think of. Like there's this crazy emphasis on the product, and then everything just kind of fades away. So, that's something to keep in mind. Color isolation, I, briefly touched on it, but now let's look at an example of that. So I'm going to go to that commercial that I did for Exio, and they wanted a black and white. They wanted the commercial to be black and white, but then have pops of color in their logo and in their clubs. So this is what it is. Obviously, it has color, and they wanted me to create something that had black and white, but then had pops of color. So I did that. If I were to break this node tree and then take you step by step. So I started with my exposure and created tons of exposure. You know what? That's a lie. I started with black and white, turning it black and white. So I went into my RGB mixer and I turned on monochrome and I made it black and white. And then once that was done, I went back and did my exposure and really pushed it. Like, look at what I'm doing. I'm pushing it. And then went in and created these highlights to bring that down so it's not clipping, and then created sort of like a look. I mean, it has a little bit of a biased look because this is black and white, right? Because everything is just white here. So that means, there's no color cast. But then I lifted the greens and brought down the reds to kind of create a little bit of a nice teal, going on in my look, undertones. And then lifted the reds just a touch up top to kind of counter that. And then in my look adjustment, kept finessing the contrast, and then went in and did tons of, like, look at the vignette. You see what I'm talking about? Like, that's that heavy vignette that, I was talking about. Like, so you take the focal point and then you bring everything down and create this really dramatic, crazy look. And then I went and added some glow to kind of ease off on the roll-offs on the top end. And then in the mid-tone detail, this time I added tons of detail. So look at that, at 50, to like really bring these clubs to life. Like it just looks, like there's so much more weight to it. And then on top of it, sharpen the image to give it even more of that edge, that sharpness, added grain, and then went in and started isolating those colors. So started with blue, and basically I'm just using my simple vectors. So I'm just literally in here using my 6 vector for majority of it, and then perfected a little bit of it, but like mostly it's just like these presets. Like I'm picking those colors and then I'm bringing them out. And then I went ahead and picked out this yellow, and then see I had to create windows and then track it. So I had to track these windows. So this is what I mean by like you have to do this extra work. Then I picked out the pink, created this large window, and then I had to track that. So rotoing, qualifiers, tracking, all that is happening. And that's just one shot of like the 70 or 80 shots that were in this spot. And that's totally normal. A no tree looking like this for a commercial is totally normal. And then if I play it back, kind of weird that it's choking on a freaking $20,000 machine. But it's probably the noise reduction and the grain that's choking it. But started with this, ended up here. So that kind of gives you an idea what I'm talking about, color isolation. So, this is an extreme example of it, but then you can just take it and kind of do it in your own way. Roto, qualifier tracking, like I said, time frame for commercials usually is a day. I mean, it would be really crazy if you're working with a buddy or something, you can even spend a week, but normally it's about a day. Do a commercial. Now let's talk about music video. Music videos are probably the most fun projects to work on, and they're the most flexible too. Like, I mean, you just get so much freedom. Basically, you just got to make it look good. It just simply is that. You got to make it look out of this world, crazy, make the sky so blue that we've never seen the sky as blue as that, and then take the skins and make them as orange as you want if you like. Just really create color contrast, luma contrast, like push it to the max. So ultimately, even after all those things, it is going to be about the artist. Like, artist is the story, artist is the thing, the main thing. Artist is the product. How the product is important there. Well, artist is the product here, and that's what's more, most important. So get a feel for the story, talk to the artist. Like, I mean, is it a sad album? Is it a happy album? Like, what is going on? If it's happy, then you're going to make everything poppy and like really bright and neon. If it's sad, then you're going to do the opposite. You might go the color isolation route. You leave colors in the skin, but then you pull everything else out. So those are the questions you're going to ask. Ask for samples, like, what inspires them? Like, is there something, in their mind, like imagery, like, paintings, like whatever have you, locations, and then keep that in the back of your head, create a mood board, and then attack it from that perspective. So my approach for these is going to be custom curves, because custom curves are going to give you so much more granular control over your image. And if you really are if you're developing a look, this is a great way to go about it and do that. And obviously, I'm going to show you an example. Once we go through all these steps, then I'm going to give you an example, a real world example. Exaggerate the F out of every frame. And I really mean it. Like, every frame, in a shot needs to be frameable, like where they can just print it out and boom, the Kodak moment is picture perfect. So think of it like that. Color separation is the biggest thing. Like I was saying, the bluest sky and the orange skin and like all that, like almost like Mad Max. Like, it just needs to have so much color separation so everything just pops out, everything jumps out. Roto qualifier tracking. I mean, these things for breakfast. I mean, you have to have these in a music video. Yes, it takes time and it adds like so much extra effort, but it's just worth every freaking penny and something that you have to do. And then cake on glow, grain, lens flares, other effects, like go nuts. I mean, Resolve has like, effects for old movie, like, sort of like a machete or that kind of feel. Throw those things on if you're going for that vibe. Sometimes you wouldn't even know what you're going for unless you throw on the effects and like start playing around with it, and then something sparks, and then you create something that you didn't even know that you could have, and the client loves it. And you'll be surprised how creative these guys are and how open they are to suggestions, and they want to see what you can do. So don't hold back. This is where you let out. Maybe you do, documentaries and all these other projects for living, but then music video is one of those things where you let out your creative beast. So think about it from that perspective. So add all these things. Like I said, I mean, it's going to make a big difference. Time frame will be somewhere from a day to 2 days. Okay, 2 days with feedback and changes, whatever they ask for, but usually it could be done in a day. I'm gonna pull this up and then kind of take you through a shot. And recently I put out a video about it too, but we can just go through it again and I can show you what I'm talking about. So I mean, this shot you guys probably saw in the video, but if I turn these off and if we look at it, I mean, this is how it is. This is how it's shot. And they asked for the Joker look. I mean, the director wanted the Joker look, so then I started with my base. Didn't add any saturation, but look how much was done in my balance. And this is just lift gamma gain. That's it. All I'm using is lift gamma gain, and how much I was able to create like that Joker look because of it. And then went in, started perfecting it. So here you can see that I'm switching the hue on the blue to go more toward green. And then I go in here, work on his skin, and I bring in like some love there. Then I go in and create this vignette to like really bring everything around him down. So you can see it, like the focus is him and I'm bringing everything else around him, down, way down. Added the glow because this is just areas that are looking super dull. So it just pops it out and sticks them out from the background. Then reversed, it's not sharpening, basically I'm softening. So I'm going in and adding -12 to just like really soften everything up and give it that film look, film feel. Okay. And then I go in and create this global adjustment where I kind of just bring it down. All I'm doing is in my gain, just pulling it down to take some sting off the top end. And then I go in and, by using my RGB curves, I split up the chain here. And then I just went into my red channel and just popped it up a little bit to just bring more red in there. So then his lips look how they're supposed to look. The chair gets its color back and all that good stuff. Like all of a sudden we can see the detail on his hand and all that. Then I go in and I pull the forehead down by using my qualifier right here. So Luma qualifier, if I do Shift H, I'm just grabbing the hottest parts in the image and I'm pulling it down by using my highlights, and then topped it off with the grain. And this is what we ended up with. We started here, we ended up here. And again, one of those things like where you might think that, oh man, like how did you even get that look without qualifiers? Like if you learn color correction, and if you get really good at color correction, you'll be surprised what you can do. And that's exactly what happened in this node. Just because of my strength in color correcting, and how deep my understanding is of color correction, I am able to basically create this look with this one node, balance node. And just by using my lift gamma gain, like no fancy qualifiers, this or that. Okay. So music video node tree can look like this. It can look a little bit more intense, but it's totally fine. This video ended up taking about 10 hours to grade, which was a pretty fast grade, and had some back and forth, not a ton. But so that's like a real world example for you. Film grade, let's talk about it. So for film grade, it's going to be all about the narrative, right? Like story. I mean, it's all about the story, and purpose never mattered more. Okay. If purpose matters in all these other, areas and fields, wedding videos, corporate videos, whatever, it matters the most when it comes to narrative, when it comes to films. That's the whole point of it. That's why, the cinematic look is the cinematic look, because they just go places. They don't care. Like last live, I talked about the monochromatics, color scheme and the complementary color scheme, and we saw what was happening. I mean, it's like these looks are just out of this world, and we buy it because it's just backed up by the story. and then it takes us to this wonderland, and like we start buying all of that. So basically think of it that you're the DP in finishing. That's what you need to understand, that you know, as a colorist on films, you are going to be shaping light. You're going to be that final, cinematographer in the finishing room that's going to just take it that last step, like take it that step further, because DP did what he could on set. What can you do to take it a step further? Most likely you'll be involved early on in films. Like mostly you're going to be brought on to create some sort of like a showlet or something for possibly work off of the showlet. So you're going to create a base grade before the movie even goes into, shooting or whatever. So you're going to create a base look, which is going to be primaries. It's not going to be using any secondaries or whatever. You're going to export it as a LUT. They're going to put that LUT into their camera. They're going to shoot it so they see what it's going to look like on the back end. And then they're going to bring it back to you. You're going to work off of that show LUT and then perfect it from there. Windows, rotoing, whatever you have to do. Okay, so that's sort of like a general process. So DP and colors work really closely together. So your relationship here is going to be very different than working on commercials and some other projects where you could be just like left alone, or like you'll be working with executive producers. And that's where the conservative nature comes from on those other, types of projects, because you're not necessarily working with the creative. You're working with somebody who pays the bills or is in charge of, like, his neck is on the line and it has to be done a certain way. So a lot of the direction is coming from that angle than the creative angle. Okay. So again, the game plan is going to be working off of the base grade or show LUTs, and heavy grading versus natural. So, two different school of thoughts. So you got Fincher, which is heavy grading, like, that yellow, that jaundice looking images, but that's his style. That's amazing. Then you got natural, which is Terrence Malick, like think of his movies, and it's like just they almost look like this is what it can look like with my eyes, but that's the beauty of it. It's fine. Who said that it has to look one way or the other? So he's more on the natural side. Other directors could be more on the heavy grading side, Robert Rodriguez's of the world. So again, like I mentioned, you're going to be involved early on, and then you're going to, for movies, majority of the time, if you're working on big pictures or something, you're going to have to do multiple trims. And trims basically mean multiple different versions. One is going to be for the theaters, which is the DCI P3, which is going to be, how it's going to be shown on the projectors. And you got the SDR version and HDR version, right? So those are pretty self-explanatory. Now, this is not a requirement if you're working for, if you're working on an indie film or something like that. You can just do an SDR version because it's the cheapest way for them to like put it out there. And then eventually, if they want to screen it in theaters or whatnot, they can, ask you for the DCI, or eventually if they want to just sell it on iTunes and HDR, that's a whole different story, right? So you got to keep these things in mind. Time frame for movies is going to be anywhere from 3 weeks to months, right? I mean, Eric Whip, when we interviewed the guy who created Mad Max on my IG Live, he said that Mad Max took somewhere around 18 months, and that's not him working every day. He made sure that he clarified that, and it makes sense. He said it didn't mean that I was working every day, but it took up to 18 months. We had 500 sky replacements. Every eyeball was tracked and sharpened and brought up, all those things. So depends on project to project. There's never going to be one size fits all. So that's something that you guys need to understand. And I want to show you this, right? So, I mean, now let's go in and look at this one action short film that I graded, and I can just show you one. I cannot talk about it or show you anything else besides this one clip. So here's the clip. If I kill everything, I'm just going to grab and kill this and then go one by one. So boom, right? So I mean, this is the shot. Cool. So that's what's happening. And now if I start taking you through it, so this was my base LUT. This is my show LUT. Makes it super dark, which is fine. Then I go in and I just use my primaries to bring everything up, and look again how much that got done just by using primaries. Then I go in and I use my temp and tint to start giving it that look that I want to go for. And then I go in and start bringing in that teal and orange that we were looking for. We were going for that Justice of Dawn, like, that Batman versus Superman look and DC comic look. And then I went in and just picked my yellows and shifted the hue on those and added that orange, like really just went out there, added sharpening and corrected my black points and went in and adjusted my black points even more. So you can see it at the bottom. I'm just kind of, fixing that gap so it doesn't like just look kind of muddy, making it. And then finally added grain, started here, ended up here. And now if you play it, like just look at how much different it is. But that's the point of it, guys. I don't know how else to say it. Like when you guys look at Joker or like some of the best looking movies, trust me, it's not like this is how they were shot, So as this, like, I mean, it's shot with different lights, right? I mean, so we got cool lights in the back, and then we got like tungsten, warm light on him. And then it's up to me how to take advantage of it. I take it and I just like, how much can I turn and twist to get these colors out? And that's what happened here. And you can see that the node tree is sort of a lot tighter than, say, working on commercials. And that's what I mean, because, majority of the time you got 800 or 1,000 shots or 1,200 shots in a movie. So you just want to make sure that you don't create something that's going to be really hard to stick with and then, go through and keep that look consistent. So basically, what I wanted to say is that, thing that you guys need to understand is that these are the things, this is everything that you need to know when you're working on all these different tiers and different types of projects. It gives you a realistic expectation of what to expect from your client and also educates you on what you need to give them. Now, that's one part of it. That's the information you don't get on the web. That's the information you don't get getting courses or online or going to freaking school. I mean, for a 4-year program when I went to college, our career development class was one of those where we were not required to show up and we got an A. Okay. I mean, it blows my freaking mind. I mean, career development should have been a 2-year long course and it should have been mandatory, So my point is that, now I gave you the theory behind what you need to know and what you need to understand, but that's half the job. Okay. That's half the job. The other half is, how do you do it? How do you actually do it? Now you heard me and you saw my, cool grades and everything. How do you actually implement this and do it for yourself? And this is the reason why I'm going to talk about it, because there's only 1 day left, 1 day and 7 hours left. My freelance colorist masterclass. I'm going to drop in the link in here to people who are interested. You guys should definitely check it out. 1 day left to join. I highly recommend you guys checking it out, because seriously, like, I put in over 25, basically what is it? So 25 plus hours of content, 150 plus training videos, and it's growing every day. And the modules are broken down like this, where you're going from start to finish. Somebody who's never even heard of Resolve, how do you bring your footage in from Premiere Pro or, Final Cut 10 or whatever into Resolve and then out from Resolve? What are the right and wrong ways? All of that is covered in my first module. Second module is cameras. So many cameras, so many different color sciences, how to get the best image. You learn that in here. Color correction, like I said, 80% of your paycheck comes from color correction. So how do you get, better at it and understand it? So color correction is that module. Shot matching is, from one shot to the next. You guys ask me this all the time. Hey guys, hey Kazi, it's really cool you showed us how to grade this one shot. How do you replicate that over to other shots? Well, there's no simple answer. You got to go deep. And I have a module that could extend to 1 week just learning about it. So shot matching is right there for you. Color grading, everybody wants to learn color grading for the sake of color grading. Like, you want to make things look like your favorite movies. I'm going to show you the hottest looks that are, in right now in 2020, how to create those looks with the course materials and the project files. Another big thing about my course is over 100 gigs worth of professionally shot footage, log footage. And that's important because you need to learn on the right footage. So many people are like, hey, can you do tutorials on iPhone? Can you do tutorials on how to make an 8-bit image look good? I can. But it's not what you want to do. Ultimately, you want to be working on big projects, big production things. How much can you push image from your Alexa or Red? You wouldn't know if you're coming from an iPhone footage or 8-bit image because it's completely different. It's a different ball game. So the footage that you're going to get is going to help you with that to get ready for the real world. Studio setup, again, so many questions about, hey, Kazi, your setup looks great. Can you explain what you got? What I got is one thing. How to set it up is a completely different thing. And third, on top of it, what do you need with your given budget is a whole another thing. And all of that is covered in here. And I tell you exactly how to set things up. What do you need? Where do you find the deals? And then I share my macro settings that you can download, my custom keyboard layouts that you can download, how I have my TV set up. You can download that. All that is in the studio module. Freelance module. Freelance is the reason why I created this course in the first place, because it doesn't matter how great you are if you can't sell your skills. If you're not good enough to communicate with people, does not matter. You will be working 9 to 5, some random job, because you're not going to be working in your field. So freelance helps you do that. Too many of us are taught that, hey man, it's not about the money, it's about the creativity and just let your juices flow in. Like, that's really cute in theory, but when you have a family and when you're an adult, you need to understand, how do you thrive in this field, not just survive? How do you thrive so you can keep doing the things that you want to do? Freelance module is going to explain all of that with step-by-step guides. There's going to be no rah-rah. There's not going to be any, look in the mirror and say you're beautiful crap. Like, this is just going to be real practical stuff that you can apply in your current situation. Bonus module is basically everything that blows up on Instagram or somewhere, like where you guys are like, dude, this was amazing, this was crazy. I turn it and bring it into my masterclass with the course materials and project files, and footage files, obviously. And then also, if Resolve 17 comes out and they add a bunch of new cool things, they're going to be funneled into the bonus module. So then all of us can stay ahead of the curve. Okay. YouTube module, as it sounds like, I'm going to be bringing in my most popular YouTube videos, footage files, project files, my node tree, everything you're going to have access to all of that so you can practice along. And that's a big difference. Like, you watching a video and applying it on a completely different footage is not the same as you practicing with me with the same footage to really test your skills. Okay. So guys, you're getting all of that, but it doesn't end there. Obviously, you know that. Check out the website. Link is right there. Definitely 1 day left to sign up. And then the best part of this class is the mastermind group. Once you join FCM, you get an invite and you join the group, or you send an invite, we accept it, you join the group. And then once you enter the group, this is what goes down. Weekly competitions, professional feedback. So weekly competition is like when people are submitting their grades, and it's really, really deep and thorough. I do a 2-hour long video per week and break down everybody's entry and tell them how it can be done better. So not only you learn from, personalized feedback to you, but also to the feedback that I've given to everybody else. Okay, just think about that for a second, like how different that is compared to a blanket like statement on a forum or something like that. Okay. Professional feedback. Once you're part of this family, you got a project that you're working on, a music video or something, and you just want my 2 cents. You send it to me, I look at it, I give you my true feedback. Okay. You get access to that. That's another massive one. Competition prizes, it's more than just like a merch or something like that. Our competition prizes are crazy. Next prize is going to be the micro panel, and that's over $1,000. It's about $1,025. You add on taxes, around $1,300. Somebody's going to be winning that, who's kicking ass in these weekly competition, who keeps showing up and is like building networking opportunities in there and all that. Networking opportunities is another crazy one. I have people that have worked with each other that are part of FCM and got to know each other through FCM. And then they built that connection And one director keeps hiring the colorist, same colorist, and he met him in FCM group. So these things are possible. It's basically a grading forum on steroids. I mean, you guys know how I work. You ask me a question and I give you exact answer. This is how it is here, but multiplied. I mean, somebody's gonna ask, "Hey, Kazi, I have $800. What kind of monitor should I get?" I won't only just give you a suggestion. I will literally give you the link to the monitor that is on a deal somewhere that you can just click and buy, and then I'll fill in the rest of the blanks too. So that kind of stuff that's going down here, guys. Like, come on. You can check out the testimonial video. I mean, what people are saying, over 1,000 students in less than 10 months. I mean, I don't know how else to get you guys hyped to become part of this movement. 1 day left. I don't leave this class open. This class is open for 7 days. Then I take it away. That way you guys keep getting the free content and we don't keep bothering you with like, buy my class. But this is more for you than me, because everything that I read and comment back to on YouTube, the main thing is always, can I get access to the footage? Can I show you my work and get a feedback? Do you have like a private group? Like all these things that I get from you guys. Well, this is the reason why the masterclass is made in the first place. And now you can be a part of all those things that you've been asking for or ask for every single day. 1 day left, sign up. Biggest thing that you need to know is this. You sign up for it, 29th day, and you're like, dude, I'm not feeling it. This is not for me. You get your money back without any questions asked, okay? So I'm that confident. I mean, people's lives have changed. People have quit jobs and started doing this full time. Josh right here did that, okay? Bobby thinks that, what he learned in an hour, like, it took him years to learn on his own, the stuff that he learned here. Brian loves the feedback, in the group, private group every week. Daniela loves that, we're adding more stuff on without charging more money. Like people who join the course get free updates to like all the things that I'm adding in there. Jake hustled because you guys know I'm freaking crazy hustler. I'm just up 24/7 and just hitting it hard. He takes that, applies it for 1 week, lands a client, free gig turns into a real thing. And now he's done so many projects with that guy. Okay. So the list goes on and on. Okay. 110% worth it, because Joe is saying that, hey, I've never experienced this where you're personally emailing people back and like, DMing us back. Like, this is just unheard of. And it's real because I'm trying to build a community. I'm trying to build something much more than, hey, give me a quickie, buy my little course, let me make $50, $100 or $200 or $300 from you. I'm not in it for that. I'm trying to create a platform for colorists and filmmakers in general that it does not exist. There's a lot of courses out there that show you, where the saturation knob is, but nobody's showing you the hard skills and the soft skills and bringing them together. Nobody's giving you the why behind the how. You know exactly what I'm talking about because I've spent thousands of dollars getting those courses, okay? So it's right here, 1 day left. Everybody that's watching this should join. I highly recommend for you to join. It's an amazing, cozy community that's growing by the second. Once this course is off the market after tomorrow, I don't know when I'm going to put it back up. Usually it's every 6 or 8 months or 9 months. I don't know, because it takes a lot to promote it and all these things. I got a life outside of that. And on top of it, the price will almost always go up. It was cheaper before. The grandfather plan was $300. Now it's $697 because there's just so much more value added. And next time it'll probably be 1,000 or even more, because again, I'm just gonna keep adding more stuff to it, keep improving it, keep partnering up with companies and getting you guys discounts and deals and all that stuff. So for all of that, I will say, if you're gonna do it tomorrow, do it right now. This is a great opportunity. With the lockdown, all we got is time, and this time can be well spent learning and honing a brand new skill. On that note, guys, I will do another live tomorrow. We're going to talk about something epic. I'm also going to be dropping a commercial versus film look tomorrow, which is going to blow your guys' freaking mind. It's going to be epic. It's going to be great. And let me just spill the beans and tell you what it's going to be about. It's basically COVID which is going to be the commercial side, versus Chernobyl, which is going to be basically the film side. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a COVID versus Chernobyl or commercial versus film grade. It's super, super epic. I'm so excited about it. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. And until next time, love you all. I'm going to take some questions and then I'm going to wrap it up. Hell yeah. I mean, there's so much FCM fam here. Like, I love you guys so much. Seriously. It just, that's it. Like, I mean, Mo just said that I should do another course on marketing and social media. And, 100. I mean, that's something that eventually might happen. But I'm just the kind of guy that really, when I focus on something, it's like laser sharp. I just go in and I go in deep, and I feel like right now there's so much that we can learn from this and stuff that I'm bringing and the value that I'm bringing to this community. And I feel like I want to just keep going with that before I drop it, drop a new product or something like that. So like right now, my focus is, my FCM family. I call it FCM fam for a reason. I mean it. Like I'm so blessed to have the kind of people that are in this program, like literally zero haters, like literally zero complainers, and just go-getters, just doers. And I mean, it just blows my mind that I was lucky enough to build that community within 10 months, and I just cannot wait to see what happens in the future. As I was talking about it, like I said, 1,000 students, and I just checked. I mean, it's over 1,200 students now, so it's growing so freaking fast. The involvement in the mastermind group is unreal. When I go in, it just makes me so happy that I can't catch up. I can't catch up on all the posts that are in there, and it is just like it baffles my brain to how fast that happened and how amazing you guys are. And it's just so many like-minded people in one place. I mean, what's better than that? Like we don't want to drive our kids and our freaking wives crazy talking about color nuances, but here we get to just nerd out and talk to people that are just like us, and we can talk about it for freaking years at end. Like we can just keep going and talking about it. Can you recommend another book besides Van Herkman? I think color grading is much more than just reading a book, to be honest with you. I think you got to get your hands dirty. And, white paper books, I don't recommend them. I mean, if you guys know anything about me, you know that. I'm all things practical. I want my hands in there, like doing it, to learn it, to get better at it. That's the only way, man. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That's the only way. Like people who just like the analysis paralysis, right? Like, I mean, if you just like sit back and you gotta have the X, Y, and Z before you do this, like it's just never gonna happen. Like, I need the calibrated monitor, then you are gonna need a calibrated computer, then you're gonna need like this glove, like then the things will just add on and on and on, and nothing will get done. So that's why, I think doing is better than, just reading something that's in theory and then you have to apply it and it's completely different. All right, guys, love you so much. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm gonna call it and see you all tomorrow. Do you have any reference websites or libraries, color grading you suggest? Guys, I mean, it's like asking the president of Pepsi, what does he think of Coke? And which Coke products does he recommend? I mean, it's just a silly question. I mean, if you come to me, I'm not going to tell you go learn color grading from someone else, because if someone else was teaching it, I wouldn't be teaching it. I literally have my hands tied running a company, have a family. I don't have time to be doing this, but because this thing does not exist, there's a void in our market for this culture and everything that I provide. So I created this. So like, I don't necessarily have any recommendations because it just does not exist. Literally, I don't lie to you. 100% of the content besides mine out there on color grading is all about button pushing, like literally showing you how to spell saturation. It's not the same. I don't make color technicians. I make colorists. I make trendsetters. I make tastemakers. That's the business I'm in. To you, it might be words. This is the truth. The results that we're getting in our group and kind of looks that people are creating, it's literally like, it's mind-boggling when you see what is happening and how are people doing this. And that's just like an everyday thing. I mean, these guys are just machines. They're turning and burning. And it all started happening, you know, after the weekly competitions and after people joined the group. So something that's going down here is really big. Because this mentality wasn't there before. This mentality wasn't there for me. I had to stay positive. I had to keep myself positive. Now you got a community of thousands of people that are doing that. So it literally, the growth and the effect is exponential because of it. All right, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Watch out for the video. It's going to be dropping soon. Love you all. Definitely check out the course. 1 day left to sign up. Sign up. Nothing to lose. 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't like it, get your money back. And on that note, see you all tomorrow.